Hey, what's up guys? It's Coach Matt, Primal Athlete Training Center, www.primalatc.com. I really didn't want to do this. Let me just start off by saying that. Really didn't want to do this. It's been something that's been bugging me for many, many years. And it's something I really haven't experienced recently, up until now. You see, today, before I go into Primal, before I train my athletes, before I do what I have to do for the day, I come down here to my home office, here at my house. I go online, I check my emails for the business, personal emails from other trainers that know. I check YouTube, I check Facebook emails, comments, messages, things like that. And I happen to find one today. Now, I did a video a few months ago. In the video, I'm wearing a warm-up sweatshirt and warm-up pants. That's how long it was. And there's a comment that says, basically comes from a guy, and he writes down, let me see here, he writes down, why not admit this is Powell, meaning the great discus thrower John Powell. Great option, but there are others. The main alternative, Schmidt, Wilkins, swings a much wider right leg with the inside thigh leading the drive. Throwers need to find a technique that works best for them. Your demo of Powell is fine for shorter, fast throwers, as well as throwers with weak left knees or quads who can't get the leg very wide, e.g., example, the many Masters throwers and young, skinny throwers. You know, this email, this comment, when I first read it, kind of pissed me off. Because what I've seen is that a lot of throws coaches, and I've only seen this happen really in the sport of track and field, in the throwing events, a lot of coaches, what they do is they try to emulate the style of a former great thrower. So you have coaches that will email me, and coaches that will come up to me at clinics and ask me, say, so when you teach the discus, do you teach more of the Wilkins style, or do you teach more of the Powell style? You know, there's a guy near me that trains with the Tony Washington style. There's a guy near me that trains with the Schultz style. This is something, and this is really the reason why I think that track and field throws in the U.S., in America, have not really gotten to the advanced level that we're seeing. We're at like a 95 out of 100. In order to get that next couple percentage points and really start to dominate on the world level, we need to get away from trying to pigeonhole coaches and pigeonhole athletes into a specific style based on somebody that threw 30, 40 years ago. No other sport does this. Okay? No one is going to go up to Peyton Manning and say, go up to Peyton Manning's quarterback coach and say, excuse me, sir, that's the John Elway style of throwing. No one's going to go up to Derek Jeter and be like, excuse me, Mr. Jeter, that's the Pete Rose way of swinging a bat. No one does this. No other sport does this. And it drives me completely nuts that it happens in the sport of track and field. When you swing a baseball bat, you are taught to swing with proper swing mechanics. When you throw a football, you are taught to throw a football with proper throwing mechanics. Okay, it goes that way with every sport. If you attend a camp, you are taught different mechanics of how you do the event. But for some reason, in the sport of track and field, I'd say at least 50% of throws coaches out there, at least, it's probably closer to like 70, 75% of track coaches out there, will try to emulate the style of a past great thrower, and it doesn't work. There are ways of teaching throwers, and the way that you have to do it, the correct way, the way that I do it, is by looking at the thrower, finding what works best for the thrower, and teaching that. Teach the mechanics. Another question came up on our Facebook page that had to deal with the same thing. And my answer had a little bit to do with this, where I said that you need to become a student of the event. Okay? You are going to have athletes And you are going to have throwers that you work with. And these athletes and these throwers are going to be all different sizes, all different shapes, all different athletic abilities. It's going to be run the gamut. You're going to have people who are tall, short, skinny, fat, flexible, not flexible, weak, strong, explosive, slow. It's going to be run the gamut. And out of those, you're going to have different combos. You're going to have guys with really teeny tiny hands, guys with really big hands. You're going to have girls with really long legs, girls with short legs. You cannot take an individual, especially at the high school level, and show them a video of Mac Wilkins and say, I want your leg to swing out like his. You can't show them a video of Brian Oldfield and say, I want you to turn over your left knee like he does. First of all, it's not fair to the athlete. They're not that physically gifted. But secondly, they may not be able to do that mechanically. Biomechanically, they may not be able to do that and get in those positions just yet. So as a coach, your goal has to be to understand the event. Understand the physics behind the throw, the mechanics behind the throw, and then try to get your thrower, no matter what their size, no matter what their skill level, no matter what their athletic ability, you need to get that thrower to be able to put the right amount of force, to be able to hit the right spots and throw correctly. Now, the style of throwing that I teach is not the John Powell way of throwing discus. It's not the Mac Wilkins way of throwing discus. The style of shot put I teach is not the Perry O'Brien style glide. It's not the Timmerman style glide. What I teach is what I have been taught and what I have learned. And when you look back throughout when I started throwing now, 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago when I started throwing, I've had so many different coaches throughout high school and throughout college. After college, working for a track and field company, traveling to different coaching clinics and working with different throwers coaches, working with different elite athletes, listening to them speak up on stage, you develop your own style. So parts of my throw, yes, look like John Powell's throw. Parts of my throw look like Mac Wilkins. Parts of my glide look like Timmerman. Parts of my glide look like Perry O'Brien. Parts of my discus throw look kind of like what Judd Logan teaches, what Gary Aldrich teaches, what Rob Lasorsa teaches. There are so many different great coaches out there that teach the shot different ways. But the mechanics are the same. The physics are the same. Everything is the same. The goal is to put the shot, throw the discus, throw the hammer, throw the javelin as far as possible. And you have to know what makes it go out there and then try to develop your athlete to do just that. It pisses me off beyond belief. And this is not the first time I've gotten a message like this. I mean, the guy basically starts out by straight out wanting me to admit that I'm copying John Powell. Watch the rest of my videos. You might see one or two other things that look like John Powell. You might see one or two things that look like Mac Wilkins. You might see one or two things that you've never even seen before, and you might say, hey, I've never heard that way of teaching it before. That's pretty good. You know, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of these good athletes. I've had the opportunity to travel around the country and to listen to them speak at coaching clinics. I've had the opportunity to go out to dinner with them as a big group, pick their brain, and none of these guys are going to tell you that copying them is the correct way to throw. They're all going to tell you exactly what I'm telling you right now, is that everyone is different, and you need to find the correct way of throwing that works best for you. And why not admit this is Powell? I'm not copying John Powell. I've never said I'm copying John Powell. Actually, I've only met John Powell once at a throws clinic out in Columbus for the National Throws Coaches Association, and I was presenting at the same time as John Powell was presenting, and I didn't have a chance to watch him speak. The people that I have seen before are the people that you're not even accusing me of copying. So I don't even get what that's about. But we have to get away from that as coaches. You can no longer say, that's the John Powell way of throwing. You can no longer say, that's the Mac Wilkins way of throwing. You have to say, if your thrower's name is, Bob Smith, you have to find Bob Smith's way of throwing. And Bob Smith's way of throwing is going to be different than his teammate. It's going to be different than their other teammates. It's going to be different than the kid across town. It's going to be different than somebody else in your state. No other sport does this. No other sport accuses other coaches of stealing from great athletes. No one's going to go up to a great NBA basketball coach and say, haha, see that? That's the Michael Jordan way of dribbling a basketball. The reason why those sports have become so great is because everyone has learned their own way. Everyone has blazed their own trail. And the faster that we do that, the faster that we stop trying to pigeonhole people into different styles and techniques, and the faster that we learn that getting the correct biomechanics of the throw and getting the correct physics of the throw is actually the right way to teach, the faster we're going to get to a more elite world level, and the better throws we're going to have in high school, in college, and the more track and field is going to grow as a sport here in the U.S. Hopefully you guys can see that. Hopefully you guys take that into account. We really want to see you guys become students of the sport, not just try to copy and emulate what the great throwers of 30 and 40 years ago were doing. Guys, it's Coach Matt, Primal Athlete Training Center. Sorry about the rant, but it had to be said. Check us out, Primal Athlete Training Center on Facebook, or you can go to www.primalatc.com. Hope to see you there.